In a quiet town lived a young man named Dave. He was well known for his success and charm. Everyone admired him because he had worked hard to become one of the wealthiest men in the area. His life seemed perfect, but there was one thing missing: a child. Dave had married a woman named Sanyu, and they were happy together. But after many years of marriage, Sanyu could not give him a child. Dave loved children, and he wanted a son or a daughter to carry on his name. He became frustrated and decided to send Sanyu away. Even though she had always been kind to him, she left heartbroken, and Dave was determined to find someone else who could give him what he wanted. After some time, Dave met another woman named Lindiwe. She was beautiful and smart, and Dave liked her. But this time, Dave made it clear from the start: "If you want to marry me, you must give me a child," he told her seriously. Lindiwe, who had always dreamed of marrying someone as successful as Dave, became desperate. She didn't want to lose him. Lindiwe had a secret. She had once been in a relationship with a man named Tumi. They had broken up, but she knew Tumi still had feelings for her. One evening, Lindiwe went to meet Tumi and told him a lie. She said she missed him and wanted to be with him again, even though she only wanted one thing: to get pregnant. Tumi believed her, and soon after, Lindiwe found out she was pregnant. Feeling relieved, Lindiwe rushed to Dave with the news. "I'm pregnant," she said excitedly, holding Dave's hand. Dave was overjoyed. He believed the child was his and immediately began making plans for their traditional marriage. The day came and they celebrated with their families and friends. Everyone danced and sang, happy for Dave and Lindiwe. But deep inside, Lindiwe felt guilty. She knew the baby wasn't Dave's, and the weight of her secret was heavy on her heart. She couldn't bear the thought of what might happen if the truth ever came out. One day, Lindiwe made a shocking decision. She went to the doctor and secretly aborted the baby. She then returned home and told Dave, with tears in her eyes, that she had lost the child. Dave was devastated. He had been so excited about becoming a father, and now his dream was crushed again. Dave was heartbroken. He had placed all his hopes on Lindiwe and the child she was supposed to give him. After hearing about the loss, he held her close, his eyes filled with sadness. "Maybe it just wasn't meant to be," he whispered, trying to console himself as much as her. But deep down, the disappointment cut deep. Lindiwe, on the other hand, struggled to hide her guilt. The lie she carried grew heavier every day. Dave had been nothing but kind to her, showering her with love and care since the marriage. Every time she saw him, she felt the urge to confess, but fear held her back. What would happen if Dave knew the truth? She feared he would leave her, just like he had sent Sanyu away. Weeks passed, and Dave threw himself into work, trying to distract himself from the pain of losing his child. Meanwhile, Lindiwe found herself in a delicate situation. Her ex-boyfriend Tumi had heard rumors about her traditional marriage to Dave. One day, he showed up at her door unexpectedly. "You thought I wouldn't find out?" Tumi asked with a cold stare. "You used me to get pregnant and then married him? Do you think I would just forget about it?" Lindiwe's heart raced. She had hoped never to see Tumi again, but now here he was, standing in front of her with anger in his eyes. "Tumi, it's not what you think," she began, but Tumi interrupted. "You lied to me, Lindiwe. I thought we had something real, but you only wanted my child so you could trap Dave," he said bitterly. "Now that the baby is gone, what's next?" Lindiwe trembled, knowing she couldn't keep up the charade much longer. She pleaded with Tumi to stay quiet. Please don't say anything to Dave. He can't know the truth. I will do anything. Just don't tell him. Tumi looked at her, weighing his options. He had loved Lindiwe once, but now he felt betrayed. I don't care about your secrets, he finally said. But you better watch your back. Lies like this don't stay hidden forever. After Tumi left, Lindiwe sat alone, her hands shaking. She knew the truth was a ticking time bomb. If Dave ever found out, her world would fall apart. But for now, she had to carry on pretending that everything was fine. Dave noticed Lindiwe was becoming distant. Are you okay? He asked one evening as they sat in their living room. You've been quiet lately. I'm fine, Lindiwe replied quickly, forcing a smile, just tired. Dave didn't push her. He thought maybe the loss of the baby had affected her more than she let on. He promised himself he would give her time to heal, hoping that someday they could try again for another child. But as the days went by, Dave couldn't shake off a feeling that something was wrong. He began to notice small things. A strange look in Lindiwe's eyes, the way she avoided certain topics, and how she seemed nervous when her phone rang. One night, he found himself lying awake, his mind racing with questions. What if there was more to the story? What if the truth was something he wasn't ready to hear? Dave couldn't stop thinking about it. The nagging feeling in his heart grew stronger, but he didn't know what to do. He tried to push the doubts away, but they always came back, especially when he looked into Lindiwe's eyes. Something about her felt distant, as if she was hiding something. One evening, Dave decided to talk to his friend Musa, a close confidant who had always given him good advice. They met at a small restaurant in town, where they often went to relax. Over a plate of grilled chicken, Dave shared his concerns. Musa, I feel like Lindiwe is keeping something from me, Dave said, his voice low. Ever since she lost the baby, she hasn't been the same. I can't shake the feeling that there's something more to the story. Musa leaned back, thinking for a moment. Women deal with loss in different ways, Dave. Maybe she's just hurting and doesn't know how to talk about it. I thought about that, Dave replied, but it feels deeper than that. I keep getting this feeling that she's not telling me the whole truth. Musa looked at his friend seriously. If you feel that way, maybe it's time to have an honest conversation with her. But be careful. Sometimes the truth is harder to handle than the lie. Dave nodded, knowing that Musa was right. He had to confront Lindiwe, but the thought made him uneasy. What if he wasn't ready to hear what she had to say? What if the truth tore them apart? That night, Dave returned home with a heavy heart. As he walked into the living room, he found Lindiwe sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone. She looked up and smiled, but Dave could see the tension in her eyes. Lindiwe, we need to talk, Dave said, sitting beside her. Lindiwe's heart skipped a beat. She knew this moment was coming, but she wasn't ready. About what? She asked, trying to sound calm. About us, about everything, Dave said, his voice steady. I can't shake the feeling that something is not right. Ever since you lost the baby, you've been distant, and I feel like there's something you're not telling me. Lindiwe felt her stomach twist. She looked away, her hands trembling slightly. Dave, it's just been hard for me, losing the baby and everything, she said quietly, hoping that would satisfy him. But Dave wasn't convinced. I understand that, but this feels different. I need you to be honest with me, Lindiwe. If there's something you're hiding, now is the time to tell me. Lindiwe's heart pounded in her chest. She could feel the walls closing in around her. The secret she had been keeping was too big, too dangerous. If Dave found out the baby wasn't his, everything would fall apart. But the weight of her guilt was becoming unbearable. She could feel it choking her. Lindiwe started, but before she could finish, her phone burst on the table. Dave glanced at the screen and saw a name flash across it. Tumi. His eyes narrowed. "Who is Tumi?" he asked, his voice suddenly sharp. Lindiwe froze. She had forgotten to put her phone on silent. Panic surged through her as she tried to come up with an explanation. But Dave's eyes were already filled with suspicion. "Is this what you've been hiding from me, Lindiwe?" Dave asked, standing up. "Who is this Tumi, and what does it have to do with us?" Lindiwe felt trapped. She couldn't lie anymore. Her secret was unraveling right in front of her, and there was no way to stop it. Tears welled up in her eyes as she looked up at Dave. "Dave, please, I can explain," she whispered, her voice trembling. Dave's heart raced. Fear and anger swirling inside him. "Then explain," he demanded, his voice rising. "Tell me the truth, Lindiwe." Lindiwe took a deep breath, knowing this was it. The moment she had feared the most had arrived. Lindiwe's tears began to flow as she looked at Dave. The weight of her guilt was too much to bear. She had to tell him the truth no matter the cost. "Dave, I never wanted to hurt you," she began, her voice trembling. "But the baby wasn't yours." Dave froze, his face drained of all emotion. "What do you mean?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. "I was so desperate to marry you," Lindiwe continued, sobbing now. "You told me you wouldn't marry me unless I gave you a child. So I went back to Tumi, my ex-boyfriend. I let him get me pregnant, and then I told you it was yours." Dave felt like the ground had been pulled out from under him. His mind raced with confusion, betrayal, and anger. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. The baby he had dreamt of, the baby he had mourned, was never his. "And when I found out I was pregnant, I thought I could make everything right," Lindiwe continued. "But the guilt, it was eating me alive. I couldn't live with the lie, so I aborted the baby and told you I lost it." Dave stood in stunned silence, his fist clenched at his sides. "You lied to me," he said, his voice full of pain. "You played with my heart and my trust. I loved you, Lindiwe. I trusted you." Lindiwe fell to her knees, sobbing uncontrollably. "I'm so sorry, Dave. I was wrong. I was selfish and I was scared. Please forgive me." Dave took a deep breath, trying to calm the storm of emotion swirling inside him. He had been betrayed in the worst way possible. The woman he had loved and married had not only lied to him, but had taken away the one thing he longed for, a child. "I don't know if I can forgive you, Lindiwe," Dave said, his voice cold. "You lied about something so important. You used me. You broke me." Lindiwe cried harder, clutching Dave's hand, but he pulled her away. "Please, Dave, don't leave me," she begged. Dave shook his head, stepping back. "I need time," he said firmly. "I don't know if we can come back from this. You've broken my trust, and without trust, there's nothing left." He turned and walked out of the room, leaving Lindiwe sobbing on the floor. His heart was heavy, and his mind was full of questions. Could he ever forgive her? Could they ever rebuild what was broken? Dave drove through the quiet streets, the weight of the betrayal pressing down on him. He had been so close to having everything he wanted, and now it was gone, destroyed by lies. As the night stretched on, Dave pulled over to the side of the road and sat quietly, staring at the stars above. He knew he had to make a decision. Could he let go of the pain and try to rebuild his life with Lindiwe? Or was it time to walk away and start over? If you were Dave, Would you give Lindiwe a second chance? Or would you walk away and start a new life? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Thank you guys for always coming back to watch. My subscribers, for those that have tuned in, for those that have subscribed, thank you so much. I really appreciate. And please don't forget to subscribe. For those that are watching and have not subscribed yet, please subscribe. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate. And God bless you all.